all know in Torchwood.
What?
Did y'all not have the Torchwood passes?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something like Minecraft.
No,
What about?
I wasn't. We all know one. Like I can think of like two.
Torchwood?
Insults or something.
What?
Like those kind of person, like a Torchwood kind of person.
Oh yeah.
I thought you meant like an answer, and I was.
Yeah.
I thought you meant
Stop
a
talking.
Did I not read? I don't know what you say.
You don't know Torchwood? Price. I think it was.
All right, guys.
Oh,
Couple things.
Price is a torch.
Price kind of is.
Am I really? Yeah, y'all really are my friends.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Let's come this way. First thing is because I'm getting this vaccine on the 11th, and everybody I talked to, I've already got my first one, and I didn't have much side effect. It seems like everybody I talked to just goes down for the count on the next day. So that would be Pi Day. So I really don't want to hand Pi Day over to a sub who would be fairly overwhelmed by the chaos, although there can't be that much chaos. So I'm thinking about maybe looking at the schedule. I'll figure it out probably today or tomorrow. I'll let you know Monday about moving it to the Monday, the 15th. So I don't think that's a whole lot of big, I don't think it's going to be a big difference, but it might move a test. From, let me see. No, shouldn't do much for you guys at all. So you would just actually do the diagnostic test. You just begin working on that in class, and then, heck, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll play with the schedule, but I think that can work. But we'll see. Maybe I just have to suck it up here with a 103 fever and a pounding headache. I'm just kidding. My uncle did say he just got the second. He's looks just like me, but 75. But he just got it and said he had no side effects whatsoever on the second one. So I'm hoping maybe the hurry gene pool will prevail.
It's a strong one.
But we'll see. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Even if you're being facetious. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. But I don't want to. I don't know. Whatever. But just throw that out there. Okay. I want to do a couple things today. One, I'm going to call on you guys to come up here and do something. I'm going to remind you a little bit about shell, and then I'm just going to randomly call on some guys to come up here and show me how they would tweak the shell to fit the model. But before we even get started, I'm going to kind of get you started with a couple of these. So as a reminder, and granted, this says use the shell method, so we have to use the shell on this. On the test, if you had the choice and it didn't specify on a vertical axis, you could use either one depending on what was given to you. All right. If the plane is bounded by this equation, anybody know what that looks like? Upside down parabola. So great. So it would be if x equals 0, y is 4. So I'm up here, and at y equals 0, x is plus or minus 2. So hopefully you can do that. That's not an overwhelmingly big ask, I don't think. So there's your parabola, and the line y equals 0 would be the same thing as the x-axis. So that gives me this shaded region, and it says we're going to rotate that about the line x equal 5. X equal 5. I haven't said this yet, I don't think, but some of the biggest errors I see on this test are people that accidentally rotate around the wrong axis. Like I tell them x equal 5, and they graph y equals 5. Well, of course, I have a rubric that I look at to grade you. So if you do y equals 5, I mean, everything is wrong. Are you following me? I mean, I might be able to scrounge up a couple points here or there, but on a 10-point question, you very likely are looking at 2 out of 10, just for that one small error. You've got to really pay attention. X equals is what? Vertical, and y equals is horizontal. And don't get that confused with y-axis, which is really what? It's vertical, but it's the line x equals 0. And the x-axis, don't get that confused with vertical, that's really y equals 0. So it's a small thing, and I know you know this, but every year people who know this make that error. and they can lose a couple letter grades. So I'm rotating this region about x equal 5. So we're doing the shell, right? So what do we do for the shell? I need, remember, a shell is a strip of toilet paper. I need length, which is the circumference. So 2 pi radius. And what do we do for radius? Simple fix. Yeah, it's either x minus the axis or the axis minus x. Depends on which one's on the right. Since the axis is on the right and it's at 5, 5 minus x. Don't even have to think about it. Okay? Anybody want to think about it? Okay. So 5 minus x. Then what? Top minus bottom. And the top equation is 4 minus x squared. The bottom equation is 0. And you can quit writing minus 0. I mean, you can write it, but it's just kind of funny, really, if you start thinking about it. It's like putting 1 in front of x when you write 1x. So I've been doing that to kind of reinforce a habit for you, but you really don't have to do that. So top minus bottom would be 4 minus x squared minus nothing, right? That's the height. So length, height, give it a little width, and integrate from -2 to 2. And if you really think about it, that means my radius at most will be 7, which makes sense, right? If it's from there to all the way to here, it's 7. And at least will be 3. And you can see right there at 3, it's adding nothing in the inside of this big bundt cake that I would have. Pretty good? Okay, so now you can find the volume of bundt cakes, should that be of interest to you. Okay, using the shell method, evaluate the integral. And I said use calculator here. Also tricky. Tricky, huh? Let's check it out. So what do I have? I got y equals x squared plus 1. What does that look like? Right. The parabola where?
Shifted 1.
Shifted up 1. And once it's up 1, what are you doing? It's a regular old 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, right? So I'm going to go over 1, up 1 each way, and then over 2, up 4. But honestly, if you just sketch it out okay, you're probably fine. Sketch something. X equals 0. No, what's x equals 0? Vertical, right? So I got x equals 0, which is really the y-axis. X equals 2, which is out here. And y equals 0, which is the x-axis. Does everybody see that that's giving me this region? All right? And what am I rotating that about? Along line x equals -3. So here is my axis of rotation. So I'm doing the shell, right? Now on the shell, I'm doing 2 pi what? I'm doing a shell method, right? Why did I say this was tricky? Does not feel tricky. Feel tricky to you? Okay. Would it be tricky if I did disc washer?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I did disc washer, I would be slicing it this way, right? And my outer minus inner for the what hole would not change, right? That'd be 1 outer minus inner. But my HOLE would be inner minus axis, and the inner changes there and there, right? So I would have to subtract. Does that make sense? I'd have to subtract 2 HOLEs. 1 from 0 to 1, and 1 looks like from 1 to 4. But with this is really not tricky. I don't know why it's so tricky. So on this particular one, though, if I do the shell, I'm just going to say 2 pi what? What's my radius? X minus axis? I mean, so x plus 3? Or minus the -3? And then what is my height? X squared plus 1 minus nothing. So x squared plus 1. So honestly, I have no idea why I said tricky. And then what are you going from? From what to what? 0 to 2. That makes no sense to me.
Mr. Green, Well, how do you like determine like where the like inner like changes? Like,
Or the what?
Like the like hole, like how do you like determine like where?
If I was doing dishwasher? Okay, so when I'm doing dishwasher, I'm slicing this thing this way, so it's making a bunch of washers. But you can see the outer part of the washer never changes. So I'm finding basically the first radius I'm finding is for the outer or the hole would be that length, and it's always using this function, right? So this is shell, but if I was doing washer, I'd go hole minus, you'll see this, hole 1 minus hole 2. So when I do my first hole, I'm taking this whole rotation, basically treating it like a giant cylinder, right? So I'm going to go axis, which would be, now granted, I'm going to have to resolve these equations, right? Because if I'm going up an axis on this, I have to think about this as y minus 1 under the radical equals x. I would have to think like that. Okay, so right now I don't though. So this is x equal 2. I can go 2, this is my radius, minus the negative 3. And you can see I'm going to pi r squared that, right? But it's always 5, and you can see that it's always 5. So you could have just said 5 squared or 25. And then I'm going to give that a little width dy and integrate from 0 all the way up to where that intersects. And I think that intersects at, is that 5?
5.
Yeah, at 5. So 0 to 5. And then for the inner, I'm going to be looking at getting rid of this part, like because when I rotate it, right, this part right here is going to be just some kind of cylinder. But then as I hit that point, now it becomes wider. So I have to treat it as a pi radius. And the radius here is just always 3, right? 0 minus the negative 3. So right here, and I would probably just write 3 pi r squared dy, but only from 0 to 1 to get that part. And then I would turn around and go from 1 to 5. So that's 5 right there. From 1 to 5, I'm going to do what? What am I doing? That function, which looks like the positive part of that. So I'm going to take that minus the negative 3 squared, right? Pi that and do that from 1 to 5. That would be tricky. Dy and then also minus, sorry. So maybe I changed it to shell and forgot to get rid of tricky, because with shell it's so not tricky, right? And another advantage of knowing shell, right? Because on the AP test, they're expecting this to be a tricky problem for you. Now, again, don't hear me say that shell's always easier, because sometimes shell makes a easy whole minus whole tricky. You know, just based on maybe if the heights are changing, like if the height, you know, like if I think about if this had 2 functions, one there and one there, right? And I rotated that around, so I have this function and this function that made that. Well, as I'm doing my heights changed right there, didn't they? So I'd have one function to peel off those shells from 0 to whatever, and then I'd have another function to peel off those shells. So it's possible shell would be harder. But then again, this would also be harder if I did dishwasher too, wouldn't it? Because the outer is changing and the inner's not. So where the inner is and the outer is, that'd be just freaking awful. Because look at this, you got an outer inner that go together, and then you have this outer inner that go together, and then you have this outer inner that go together. So that would be truly awful. AP is never going to give you anything like that, nor am I. I mean, you can always make stuff harder and more tedious. All right, what about, hey, wait, I'm just going to jump into it. I'm going to skip a couple of these. At this point, I hope that anything I skip, that you just do what you need to do to get practice. But I want to go to this page right here. So this says, thinking about the radius. I'm going to give you the same problem. We're going to have the same shaded region, but I am going to keep moving the axis from x-axis to the line y equals negative 7. I'm going to move the axis, and we're going to get started on these, and we're going to do all of these, whether it's shell or whether it's, we're going to do whatever you think, and I'm going to get you up here and tweak it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, anybody welcome to jump up here. If not, we'll use my calculator of doom. It has a great random number generator on it. Have we done this before? Ever? A random number generator? It's so exciting. Okay, so random number. How do I do this? Oh, catalog. R. Yes. Random integers. I am going to do that. So, George is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lucky 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, unlucky 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we're going to do random integers from 1 to 15 unless somebody is so kind as to step up and do one when they think, would have been Gabe.
Thank you.
16. You are number 16. Should somebody not volunteer, the random generator speaks all.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Just toss that. These markers are all. This side over there. Oh, and after you use one of my markers, hey guys, if you come up here and use a marker, just leave it on the floor. All right? So we don't spread potential. So it looks like you're doing dishwasher, right?
Yep.
So you're doing a what hole minus a hole?
Yep. Sure. Oh, yes.
What hole? So what's your radius from the what hole?
X-axis is 0 minus. X minus 3 squared.
Minus 6, yeah, or just F. You can use that. What do y'all think? If he's wrong, he gets no pi day. I'm just kidding. And if you correct him when he's right, you get no pi. I'm just kidding. No, anybody see anything? He's doing what hole minus hole. So on the what hole, he's rotating about the x-axis. He needs what? Outer to axis. And it really doesn't matter specifically, but I love to have good form. The axis is on the top. So he said 0 because the x-axis is y equals 0. 0 minus that function gives me the outer. Square it pi gives you the what? Area of that disk. Give it a little width. Add them up from 1 to 5. And then for inner, he needs to get rid of this hole. Because remember, he's rotating this around there. So he's getting rid of this hole through the middle. That radius right there is always 2. 0 minus a g is 0 minus a negative 2, which is 2. And then he's pi r squaring that, dxing it 1 to 5. Looks good to me. Well done, sir. All right. Yeah, just toss it in the ground. Okay, now what about this one? Somebody come up here and tweak it. Y equals negative 7. Yeah. And the who would it have been? It would have been 11. Aren't you 11? Yeah.
You would have gone.
I won't make you go twice, but it would have been 11. I always like to know what it would have been. It's like when you play cards, even if the guy's won, you're like, what'd you have? Or show me, what's the next card? What would it have been? You're playing like. Oh, you erased it. You didn't have to erase.
Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Now you got to rethink it.
Bruh.
Now, are you doing shell
Shell.
around a horizontal axis?
Yeah, that's not.
You've never learned that.
No, it's not.
Probably wouldn't try. So horizontal axes, I'd stick to disc washer. Like literally, don't try doing the shell on a horizontal axis. I haven't taught you that. You have to do a DY. It's just gonna, everything's gonna get combobulated in your head. So what's your holes radius?
So like if I'm doing, this is kind of, that's probably more work than I do. If I do it like that and then I subtract.
I don't know what that is, what you just did.
So like if I do that, is this more work than I need to do? I'm saying that if I make this like a solid like that and I take the volume of that and I subtract.
You're rotating around y equals negative 7.
Oh my God, okay.
Y'all see what I'm talking about right here? Just to use her an example. Right, that's what happens on a test. I know she knows what y equals negative 7 is. That's a brain glitch. If that happens, you're going to get crushed. It's not x equals negative 7. So you have to be careful about that. So y equals negative 7 is this, right?
Yeah.
So you're rotating this around this. So for what hole? Just keep going. Okay, so that's a good start because she didn't show the math of that, but the outer to the axis is always 5 on hers. So she can square that 5, integrate, and you're integrating from what to what as you move across these? From 1 to 5. So there's her hole. And now she's getting rid of her hole. And you do that by doing what? So what is that length? Oh, in case you can't see it since we've gone straight down. That equation was, what was it? It was F. The bottom one's F. That's G. So you can use F if you want.
Yeah, I don't know.
How did you get 5?
That's 3. So,
You subtracted 2 minus a negative 7.
yes.
I'm sorry, negative 2 minus a negative 7. Well, how do you get this? So do it.
Okay.
What's your formula for area? Okay. Are y'all seeing that? Okay.
Well done.
Oh, wait.
Remember, that's a disc washer horizontal axis. But guys, again, I'm really happy she thought about that as x equals negative 7 because it's a perfect example of a very bright, competent person missing that detail and you would have gotten slaughtered on the problem. Okay, you just have to be careful about that. It can happen to any one of you. I've done it. Sitting up here in front of class. Of course, most of the time you wait till I'm done. You're like, you're doing the wrong axis. Okay, but anyway, be careful about that. What about number 3? Number 3 says the line y equals negative 1. All right, if we got a volunteer, just come on. First one here. Who would we have had? Unlucky 13. Now you don't have to erase it all if you don't want. It's your call. You want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna erase it all. Trying to help herself, but.
She printed out the key.
To get points from the AP exam, do we need to write it out on what variation first and then start solving and putting?
You need to write out as what?
Do we need to write it out like that first and then start putting in the equations and then start solving because,
No, but I'm only having you set it up.
okay,
So if it was an AP test and I would have had a calculator problem though, I'm not writing that in there. I'm just going to use F and G. And then in my calculator, I'll type in what I need.
and you can.
Or even better, I will have already graphed F and G and I will just be pulling F1 and F2 in. And then, there you go.
Are most of these on the AP test that you have it on, or not?
I will answer that, but there's really no way to know. They are usually volume and area problems. 9 times out of 10 show up on number 1 or 2, which are calculator problems. The last one we had, it showed up as number 4. So usually, yes, if you look at historically, but I have seen a definite shift in the last 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years, where people have gotten so complacent. They're like, oh, there's always a 9-point volume. There's always a 9-point differential equation. And then that last couple tests we took, volume was 9 points, but it put in some related rates in there. So it was really 6 points. And the differential equations was in there, but it was as a part of another question, a little bit more subtle. So it was actually 4 points. So they've been a little bit more sneaky about giving variety so that people can't just depend on knowing what's there over the last 3 to 4 years. Now, what's it going to be like this year? Again, every year is the multiple choice to me always feels unique. I mean, always feels similar. I mean, literally, I take a multiple choice test. It's like, I feel like I've taken this 20 times with maybe 1 or 2 problems going, oh, that really make me think. Or that maybe I just like, there have been 1 or 2 where I'm like, I would never in a million years have gotten that. But most of the time, it will have some level of familiarity to you. All right, what about the line y equals 2?
Just grabbing the water.
Sure. What number were you?
10.
10? Would have been 9. All right, now, next. So nothing really changed from -1 to 2, right? I mean, a lot changed on the volume, but nothing changed really on the setup. All right, what about this? Same problem, but now we're rotating about the y-axis. All right. So I'm going to erase all this. You have 2 options now because it's a vertical axis. Guys, this is going to happen on a test, on the AP test. You'll be given something like this, and if you want to do disk washer, you're going to have to do what? You're going to have to solve that function for x equals in terms of y. But on a shell, nope.
Throw it in there.
You can just toss it on in there. And that's the why I'm bothering to teach you this. Because I really do think for some people it's really helpful. We are, what, 2 months, and we take it on the 6th or the 4th? I forget.
Wow.
I think it's the 6th.
Oh, that's a calendar.
It's a Tuesday, I know that. When's y'all's last day? Oh, so it's the 4th. 2 months from
Oh,
today.
yeah, it's on May the 4th.
Yeah, so 2 months from today.
Star Wars Day.
What's that?
The Star Wars Day. May the 4th. May the 4th.
Oh, May the 4th. That's awesome. I never heard that. How have I never heard that?
They have like baseball games they get on.
How have I never heard that? May the
We're
4th.
confused too.
You've been living under a rock.
I guess so.
Have you not seen, like, is that right? You're not much of a Star Wars fan, I guess?
Dude, I waited 2.5 hours
Okay.
in 1977 with my parents to get into the Martin Twin Theater.
You made mistakes.
2.5 hours. I was 10 or maybe 11 at that point.
Right? Yeah.
First one came out in 77, I think. And then, yeah, it took 4 years to make them back then. Now they crank them out in a year and a half or whatever. But like literally, there were so few movie theaters it was a Martin twin. We were like, what? You mean to tell me there are 2 movie theaters in the same building? They can show 2 movies? Like, that was amazing. And then another one came out that had 4, and we were like, 4? Now it's like the so-and-so 16 or whatever. All right, so we got shell going right here, right? So I need what? I need 2 pi radius, and the radius is always x minus axis or axis minus x. Looks like the axis is to the left of the region, so x minus 0. And again, you can quit writing the minus 0 if you want. Totally great. All right, and then what do you want next? Height, and the height, top minus bottom, -2 minus the function. Stays dx, you don't have to worry about that. And then integrate from 1 to 5.
Crazy.
Child's play. Same question. X equals -2. Again, not y equals -2. X equals -2. Who's number 9?
I'm number 9. I think I
Shoot,
have one
yeah.
twice.
Who's 6?
Sure.
You're 6?
Wait, that's just -2, isn't it? G of that.
Yep. You'd be fine either way.
So we can write G, like we can write this that and not.
You
we
can,
write G
sure.
of X minus
You
X
can always
minus
use,
X.
if it is called g of x, you can use g of x. If it was y equals -2, you put the -2 in. It's good. Y'all with me? With him?
Yeah.
The line x equals 7. Anyone? Going once? Twice?
I'll do it. But could I do it? I want to try with,
Oh, you've already done it.
can I do the dishwasher? Not too bad.
Next. Yes. Next. Number 4. Fix it up for us. Not too bad, right? And then I dropped the mic. Okay, and you said you want to do it with this washer? Go do it. Shut up. And the function was, for the record, f was x minus 3 squared minus 6.
Good.
This would actually be a pretty good, a tougher version of a disc washer method. To me. I mean, not super, super tough, but it's a tougher version. So what are you looking for?
I'll do right line slash.
You're doing what hole, right? So what's your biggest radius? Okay, and what's that function on the left? Looks like you solved for x and got 2 functions. So that would be the what?
It's in the positive version? Negative version.
Negative version, because it's left. Any left side or down side would be the negative version. So you're going to start with the negative version or start with the axis where your call? Oh, dude, you gotta pick a different marker. No, just leave it there and just, even I can't see it from here. Go black or brown. No, you don't have to go over it. I'll walk through it. Just finish it up. Toss that. Here you go. There you go. And then it's just one small detail, but your parentheses, 1, 1, 1. I don't think you would lose stuff with that. Y'all see that?
Yes.
That's dishwasher. And now here's the tricky thing about shell. I'm just going to throw out there. If this is a multiple choice question and they say set up what you would do to solve this, and you set up that, that's not going to be an option for you on this AP test. If it's set up what you would do. Are you following me? You're just not going to see that because they don't require you to know shell. So you're going to have this. So if you ever see a multiple choice question that says set up what you would do, and it's multiple choice and you're trying to match those, don't even bother using shell. You're not going to see it. With the one exception of, if you really like testing your calculator out, you could do it the easy way and actually put it in your calculator and find the answer, and then compare your answers to all of the other options. But that's a buttload of typing in your calculator. And when you consider on a multiple choice test that uses a calculator, you have 17 questions and you have 45 minutes. So you got about 2.5 minutes a question. So to type in 3 or 4 choices of that, it's going to take you a while. So again, I love shell if it's free response. I love shell if I'm picking an answer. But if I'm matching it to a setup, I'm just going to suck it up and do dishwasher because that's what they're going to require. In fact, I've seen a problem, and this is super dirty. I mean, just dirty. They put the shell one out there, and you're like, oh, but they had like one small thing wrong. Like maybe they threw in dy instead of dx. Or maybe instead of going 1 to 5, they did -6 to 2, which wouldn't be in keeping with the dx, right? They changed one little thing, and you know how you guys are. I'm the same way. You're doing a problem, and you're like, well, I mean, it looks so right. That probably just made a careless error. And you circle it. So I've seen them do that maybe once, not a lot. But anyway, something to be said. I just mentioned. What do you think? You feel like you're getting the shell? Okay, we got one more day. I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff. There's a practice test. No, wait a minute. Do we have 2 more days? You know what I may do tomorrow? I just may let you do the take-home quiz in class rather than keep beating a dead horse, which I feel like we're doing. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we got this, and then we're going to go over stuff on Monday. Again, I know I just gave you too much time, but I'm actually in good shape. I'll show you what review I'm going to give you guys. You tell me what you think. This is a completely new way of doing a review. I have so little time compared to last year. I want to give you the best chance of doing well, and I don't think I can pull off an optional practice test on our day off because there's too many of you, and I can't pack you in my room like I have in prior years. I can't put 35 people in here. And then I have to go through avenues to like use the lunchroom and all this. It's just not to mention, I don't need, when's y'all's prom? Saturday the 17th, yeah, and our off day is the 16th. Okay, yeah, I don't think I'm doing the optional practice test, but this is what I am going to do, and I think you. So check this out and tell me what you think. And actually, I don't know that it really matters, but I think this is what I'm doing. So we are going to start our AP review. Now the Pi Day may change. Okay, so the Pi Day part, actually, I don't even know if the Pi Day part's on here, might be. The Pi Day part may change, we'll figure that out. So here we go. So we're gonna start, if Pi Day is like it is currently, we'll have it, if not, it's not a big thing. I'm gonna give you a big fat handout. It's like 8 or 10 pages, I don't know, of every formula, theorem, rule, pattern, derivative rule, integral rule. It's a great packet. Hold on to it if you're in college. It's a great reminder of stuff if you have to take Cal 1 again or Cal 2. Some schools will give you credit for it, but still make you take a math. So a lot of, like, I know a girl who took BC Cal, made a 5 on it. She went to Middlebury, which is up in Connecticut or somewhere East Coast. She went up there, which is a great liberal arts school. And they're like, great, we'll give you credit, but you still have to make a math course. Take a math course. She's like, okay, forget it. Don't give me credit. I'm going to take Cal 1. So she went back and took Cal 1 and loved having notes from here. Right here, I'm going to give you a diagnostic test, either to take home and do, or if we move Pi Day, we'll figure all that out. But that diagnostic test is going to count for your asynchronous learning. Okay? So whatever it is, that's going to count for the day. You're just going to be doing it a little early rather than doing it here. But I'm going to give you this big theorem packet, probably on Friday, and also this 5 Steps to a 5 book so you can do these problems. But you're going to basically be memorizing the theorems. Hopefully you know most of them anyway, or some of them. You're going to be memorizing the rules, derivative rules, integral rules, so you take this big test. The big test, it's not a super easy test. All right, you're going to have to know your stuff. Anybody know what the 3 points of continuity are? Crap, you remember it, right? But you probably don't remember it. It's like you can, oh, I remember hearing that, but what are they? So those kind of things you're going to have to actually learn, relearn, and get better at. That's going to be on this test. And then we're not going to be here on the 19th. We're going to go to spring break. Now, this is what's going to look like when we get back. Do what? Oh, I am going to give you guys 10:33. I still have 7 minutes. Okay, so settle down. We're going to start doing practice tests. Now, that first night, if you look at it, I'm going to give you over spring break, okay, or the night after the 18th leading up to the 19th. There's a multiple choice practice test. AP gives you 55 minutes to take it. So don't take any longer than 55 if you don't want to. More than likely, it's the first practice test. There's going to be a ton you don't know. You're rusty on. You're going to go, ugh. But it's going to be a learning lesson, whatever for you. When we come in here on Monday the 29th, if you've done nothing, then that will be on you. I'm not taking it up. But we're going to go over that practice test. And for those first few days, I'm going to give you one to go home with. We're going to go over it. I'm going to give you one. This is going to be an uglier day. We're going to go over it, okay? That'll be your week and a half, 2 week review of material, giving you an idea what a practice test look like. Then, starting on the 1st of April, no fooling. Starting on the 1st of April, I'm going to give you a full-length test, 2 days, go over it for 2 days, 2 days, go over it for 1 day, because I can go over 6 problems in a day. I can do it, okay? And that's going to be a 100-point test. If it stinks, I'll erase it with a better second round. Then we're going to go over another one. Multiple choice over 2 days. Go over and go over. This one's going to be a 200-pointer. But if it's better, if any one section is better, I'm going to do it by sections. If this section's better than that section, I'll erase the previous one, replace it with the second one. Not replace it, but just erase the previous one and just keep the second one. If they're both good, I'll keep them both. All right, that's 50-50. I'll go over it. You'll have your prom, and then you'll come back and take the last 2. That's a 200-point test. All right, then after we go over those, I am going to give a little bit the night after the last one. I'm going to give you 3 problems over the next 2 nights to just work on your own that won't count for anything, just a little bit more exposure to free response. And we'll go over those the day, and then the big test that actually counts the most. Okay? Now, if you're progressively getting better, and then you get to this big test, and the big test is better than the other ones, I'm thinking about maybe even replacing both, but I don't know about that. But of these 3, I'm going to at least get rid of your lowest one of each category, okay? But typically, people get so much better. This, at this point, will be your 4th practice test you'll have taken, okay? I'm going to give you a 5 Steps to a 5 book where if you're like, man, I did so badly on that first one, I think I need to do another one this weekend. There's practice tests with solutions and everything in that 5 Steps to 5. Again, I don't care. I would think by the time we go through the first 3, you're gonna be in really great shape for the big test, and the big test is gonna count for half your 9 weeks straight. All right? Most people do really well when we get to here. And then after that, I'm gonna go over it for 3 days, and you're gonna have your AP test. And I do realize a lot of you during this week, actually, no, you won't. Does anybody have, what AP test is on the 3rd?
Gov and physics C.
On that Monday?
I think it's the first.
Physics C in the afternoon?
Mhm.
Who has Gov in here? Okay, so what would happen for you guys, if you want to go over your big test, which I strongly encourage, if you made a 5 or a 4 on it, you're probably in great shape. But if you want to continue to learn, if you're not going to be here that day because of AP stuff, AP testing, then you might, on one of these 2 days, just come in here after school and I'll hand you the key and you can look over the key and make sure you understand, ask questions of me. But we're going to be going over the last part of the big test on that Monday. And then we'll test that Tuesday on the AP test and you're free from me. So you may or may not be here y'all have AP tests on that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? In the morning? If you don't have them in the morning, we will be chilling. Just chilling, eating leftover Pi Day snacks. I don't know, whatever. Not really. Some really crusty brownies. I don't know, I'm buying $500 worth of Little Debbie stuff.
Those will last forever.
Those will last forever. I mean, literally
Yeah.
forever. Those oatmeal cream pies, man, they're 20 years old, taste like new. Twinkies. It's this artificial food product that's, well, with the exception of maybe McDonald's cheese and fries. Those things last forever, too.
Kind of gross how long this lasts.
Have I told you that story about a dude who bought a hamburger? I tell you that?
Put it in trash.
He just thought he put it in his pocket. And it was the end of the winter and it got warm and he just hung his coat. Like he had an extra one he didn't eat. He meant to take it out, forgot about it. Hung up his coat and then the coat, I guess, went out of style and just sat there in his closet for like 14 years. And then he found it. He's like, I need to get rid of this. So he was kind of checking the pockets for money and found it and the receipt was in the bag.
Oh, are you talking about the guy in the burger pocket?
Yeah. And he pulls it out and the bun looks perfect. The meat looks perfect. The cheese looks perfect. And the only thing that is decomposed was the green pickle. It was like just a shade of green. That was all that's left of it. Literally. That's not food.
Yeah, I remember that.
What's not food?
My dad got.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
It might be deliciously terrible, but it's just terrible.
My dad got a crystal burger and shaved it to the underside of one of his coworkers' hairs just to like let it rot and smell bad, but then it never rotted and it just shriveled. Like it just got smaller.
Crystal isn't even enjoyable. I can enjoy a McDonald's.
Isn't Crystal the one that's like little?
One of my friends who works at room collects all the like air packets. She has like 14 packs of their air bags. And they for years, she's like, I don't know why it smells so bad. And then in 7th grade, her parents dumped her bag out and 14 bags of rotten baby carrot sauce.
Ah,
Yep.